today we got to play...
Stifling Dark.
There's a the.
There is
faded.
the Stifling Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is a adventure game?
It's a one versus many hidden movement.
Yeah, hidden movement kind of game. But before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell because board games are amazing.
And so are we.
Yes, so are we. Don't forget that we also have sweepstakes going. So we've got a couple of games to give away. We're super excited about that. So
our 2-year anniversary is coming up.
2 years anniversary. So super excited. But can you tell us more about this game, Robert?
Again, this is a Kickstarter preview, so I just want to make sure that
the Kickstarter's over.
Yeah, but it's still a preview of the game, and we don't have final version components of it. So
this is a prototype.
It is a prototype version of the game. So there's really no Board Game Geek stats yet, but I do have some information. It was a very successful one. It raised $220,000. So congratulations to the guys that made this game. So designers Jeremy Geenan, Ethan Jansen, and Matt Rayford. Artist is Corey Freeman. Published by Sophisticated Cerberus Games. There's a couple different versions for prices. So there's a deluxe version, which I don't think we have. That was $70. Base game was $50. But you can get it for pre-order right now. $93 is the retail, but they're still selling it at the $70 Kickstarter price for the deluxe. And just some of the differences is one of the components which Randy and I really like is the flashlights. It's a bigger flashlight that's available in the Kickstarter. There's additional player boards, cards, standees, and sleeves.
So kind of worth it. So
yeah. And for only $20 more. So you get quite a bit more with it.
Yeah, so you may want to look at that if you're interested in this game. All right, so let's talk, quality and components. Again, this is a Kickstarter preview. Yeah. It is not the final production.
Some of these
there are some really cool elements.
These are final product.
Yeah.
And they are really cool. They
look
did
awesome
a great job
on
the board.
I mean, it does look like a true they did a great job on that aspect.
It is super fun.
Yeah, and if that's kind of a highlight of what we're going to see in the final components, I'm super excited to see what that looks like. But I don't feel like it's fair to give a score for this.
Yeah, not really, because everything else is pretty standard either, kind of.
Well, the dice are
nice.
But
but some of the cardboard elements you can definitely tell.
The cardboard is kind of lacking, and it looks like at least from the appearances, it's not going to get much better in the Kickstarter. It looks like these are
but we don't know for sure.
We don't know for sure. It isn't clear if this is going to be an upgraded component, but it looks like it's going to be cardboard.
Yeah, so we'll let it go because we don't know what the final quality is going to be. All right, so now let's talk about the theme. So obviously the theme is that you are trying to get evidence about a murderer.
There's an adversary.
Yes,
there's an adversary.
Yeah, and you're trying to get evidence.
You are trying to collect evidence for that, okay? And in the meantime, you are also trying not to die.
I did.
Which you did. Shame on you. I kept finding him just fine. I don't know what your problem was, but
I wasn't creepy enough. I was trying to be creepy,
and it was obvious. So I was just like, flashlight. No, my character had a special ability to let me sweep the flashlight a lot further, and so I was able to do a lot more. Oh, there you are, which may make sense why people pair up together,
right? To
kind of anyway. So that's kind of this theme, though. So what I liked about it. Well, I like the components, like having the flashlight. Certain areas have certain things. You can turn lights off in rooms, and that illuminates that area.
This is a game where the mechanics fit the theme very well.
Yes.
I mean, it's really the highlight of the game to me are the mechanics. So being able to shine your flashlight, turn the lights on, that helps out a lot. Randy being creepy Randy. Brandon had superpowers against his creepiness. I did not. So, but I think those mechanics, and didn't really get to see what Randy could do a whole lot, but it sounded like he had some really cool abilities that he was able to do. But there's asynchronous abilities, so what Miranda could do was a little different than what I could do. All different mechanics. I think it fits this game really well and kind of adds some flavor to it. I like it.
Yeah, this you could feel the theme playing this game, and just the fact that we can tell a story about it. I'm like, Randy, really? Why are you creeping on me like that? Like, because I kept looking at him, and I kept finding him because we probably think a little too much alike. But and that's kind of the thing. It does give you the feel like, well, I was finding him all the time and keep resetting him. You were doing you were traveling, getting your stuff, and it worked out really, really well.
But like most games like this, and I think who you play with is really important. Because Randy added flavor. Like when I shine a flashlight or turn on the lights, it's like, oh, you only see a rat scuttling, in the building or something like that. That adds something to it. If you have people that are just like, nothing, may not be as fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think if you have a really good group of people that add that little bit of the role-playing element to it, it makes it even better.
Well, and I think that's just it. I think with our group, though, we can feed off of each other. Sometimes the wrong way, but sometimes... But sometimes,
what are you talking about?
I think rats mating was one of them. All right, and it only got worse from there.
I mean, they have to be able to do it somehow.
They propagate.
I don't think we needed that information. I do not think it was relevant.
I did draw a diagram.
What did you think of the theme, Randy?
I really enjoy it. I mean, it feels to me like this is a crossover between like Whitechapel or Scotland Yard type games with Betrayal at House on the Hill. You've added in the whole finding items and finding the things that give you abilities, and then the worrying of the getting attacked at any point, and kind of halfway through the game, you end up getting to the point potentially, if you're lucky, that you change the scenario because you have to figure out how to get out, and that adds kind of like the reveal moment, like in Betrayal House on the Hill, where it's now we've got the traitor, and we have a new scenario we have to solve for. So I think that there's a lot going on with this game, and it has a lot of diversity during the course of the game. Not to mention, there's a lot of flexibility with. I mean, love how they've added in flexibility with the characters, like. My villain, I had 3 different options for how I could attack, and I get to pick one.
And you got to pick at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and then there's abilities, actually, that I didn't get to use because based on player count, you don't get them.
And I end up seeing you all the time.
Yeah, I think the player count is really the biggest impactor in this game. What I think is, it feels like it's better. It's going to get better with more players, but it was still fun with 3. But I think it's going to only get better with more.
So let's give Theme a score.
Just one more comment. If anybody's played Camp Grizzly, I think this feels like that a lot. So if you played that game, you would like this game a lot. Thematically, I liked it quite a bit. I'm gonna give it an 8. I liked it.
I think the theme is spot on in a lot of aspects. I think it feels like it. The mechanics are directly related to it. The art was decent.
Oh yeah, the art on the player cards is really neat.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
it's really well.
Well, and even
really
these, it fit the theme very, very well. So I did think it had a really good flavor, and with that flavor, I'm actually going to give it a 9. I think when you can feel it, I think that's where when you start talking about 9s and 10s, and I felt it.
I think a 9 is a good score too. So
I think I'm right there with the 2. I'll go in the middle, 8.5. I think it's got some strong theme. I like the way the board's laid out. You got an auxiliary board that looks just like it, that's smaller for the person with the hidden.
That kind of reminds me of my management's like that too.
And so is Whitechapel.
Yeah, Whitechapel.
But yeah, I think that this is it captures the feel of a creepy Halloween type feel, which is what I want to play this. I want to play this around Halloween would be ideal. Unfortunately, we didn't get it in time.
Yeah.
But I just think I think the art is okay. I don't think it's outstanding, and it's just there's not that much of it.
Right.
But yeah, it definitely gives you that uneasy feeling, even as the stalker, that was going around. I felt like every time I turned around, you were shining a light on me. It's like, well, I'm just going to walk away into the bushes again.
Yeah. All right. So now let's move on to the rule book. Now, this is not final print, right?
No, it wasn't printed at all. I mean, someone printed it out from a website.
Right.
It's definitely rudimentary. It's not the final product, and it was very difficult from a prototype to get it set up. The gameplay I don't think was bad at all.
I don't think so.
The setup
and the
was
cheat
a
sheets
beast.
I think were super helpful.
That part
and
is
the
amazing.
Yeah, getting the icons right. But the cheat sheets I do think are amazing. I think
They're
they did a
very,
great job on
very
the
well
cheat
done.
sheets. And
Good, thick quality. Too.
That's a good sign for what the rulebook will be. I can't really score the rulebook because of the condition it is.
But we will score these cheat sheets.
Yeah.
Let's
A+.
score A+.
Oh. Wow, we're changing rating systems.
Well, because we can't rank it normally because it's not done yet.
Yes, we do love the cheat sheets. I think they covered all the major points of the game. And
and they gave us enough of them.
Yeah, and there's ones that for like the stuff not everybody player needs, like the iconography one is there. There's one for everything that's major in the game. So once you got the basics of the game down, you won't need the rule book for that much.
Right.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay is that you start over here. We're just gonna act like we're gonna continue this. That Robert did in fact
all
die.
the players except for the
bad guy.
The bad person.
Well, we're not going to talk about the bad guy because we just want the bad guy to know what the bad guy does. Yeah. So you're going to have to read it. But if you're the good guy, okay, so first so we're playing as a team, so it doesn't matter who really goes first. Rob typically went first in this game. Just
first,
because
there's an event that's revealed, which is a weather condition that happens, and
it really wasn't that bad.
Except for the last one.
The last one sucked, but I mean, for the most part, it didn't really harm us.
What was funny is the shuffle of the deck turned into like all the bad stuff was up front, and then you kept getting the storm builds, but nothing basically happened.
Right.
So we just found the pure coincidence, like, okay, the storm's not really building if all the bad stuff's already happened.
Well, the storm had already occurred, is what it was.
Yeah.
Right. We just went on the tail end of that. All right, so the event cards gets flipped. Okay, and so naturally everyone's going to start out with a certain level of movement depending on your character. I have 4 movement. Okay, so at the end of the round, so I'm going to clear my flashlight. That was from the previous round, and so I'm going to move up 4. Well, right now I'm actually in a darkened building right now, so I can't really see. Okay, so because of it, you can see by these little dotted lines, and the light isn't turned on, that it takes me 2 movement because I'm just feeling around, trying to figure out where I'm going. That takes 2 movement, so I'm going to go 2, 2. Okay, so that's 4. I am able to pick up this item. Do I actually have to stop and pick up the item?
You have to stop on it to pick it up.
Okay, hold it. All right, so I have 4 movement, so I'm going to move 2 into here. So I'm actually wanting to pick up this car part, and that is going to take my action. Now, I also have a stamina bar and a flashlight bar. So I am going to use my flashlight because the guy is on my turn. Actually, he's not. He's over towards Robert. So I'm actually...
But we don't know that.
Well, we did because he hurt you.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, so
I couldn't run away afterwards.
Yeah, and it is pretty close. So you know what? I am going to put my flashlight out there. So I can't see over here. So even if I did my flashlight against this wall, I wouldn't be able to see it. And then there is this barrier here. And I know he's not behind me because he was over here later. So I'm going to... And right now we're under restrictions for this little limelight. So I'm going to go right here. Now, Randy's going to check to see if it does, in fact, impact him.
There's these lines on there, and if he's within those lines, we would be able to see it.
Correct. And then he would show himself and be very sad and be like, oh, look. And I'm like, you creeper.
Yeah. And he'd mope because that's what Randy does.
Yeah. Okay, and then you're going to take... So, because I used my flashlight, I'm going to move it down on the flashlight drop, but I didn't use my stamina. So I'm taking kind of a rest and I'm moving my stamina bar up. It's giving me a second breather. Now it's going to be your turn.
I have the same option. So I would clear off my flashlight, but we're trying to collect these car parts to get the truck going and be able to escape. So there's 2 more down here. All of these spaces are solid lines, which means it only takes 1 movement to go in there. I have a movement of 4, but I really need to get down there because it's almost the end of the game. So I can actually spend a stamina to actually roll the stamina die and add that to my movement.
So you get 7 movement.
So it's 3 plus 4 is 7. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I could choose to use my flashlight. But I'm almost out of power, so I'm choosing not to. And so because of that, I had to spend a stamina to use that extra die, but then I gained a flashlight.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I didn't use my flashlight.
Since the players have finished, now it's the adversary's turn. The adversary gets to do the same thing. I get a free roll of the die. I don't ever exhaust.
Yeah, he doesn't have to spend anything.
And I have 5 movement as a base. So if I roll, I got a 3, so I can move up to 8 spaces. So I can... And you can break up your movement. So I can move and then attack and then move back, or I can move and stalk and move away. As long as I was not in a flashlight. If I was in the flashlight on my previous turn, I have to get out of the limelight, or else I'm not going to be able to do much.
Yeah, you can either disappear, run away, disappear, and break a door. That's it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So you basically want to stay hidden, So problem is when I run up to hide, they get to see what direction I started out my running.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to put a token on the board to show where I got out of the light at, and then they have a general idea of which direction I was going. And that was a problem with Miranda because she had an ability to sweep with her light 2 different directions.
Well, and I went into tight spaces on purpose.
Yeah,
so there was only really 2 ways.
Well, and there's that psychic connection they have too.
So every time I try to sneak up on her, she would end up shining a light on me. I finally was able to pull off getting a stalk on you because I was outside the building where you turned the light on, looking through the window. And then
he came after me.
And then I ran to the open door.
I just don't know how you can see through a very dark building first, because I didn't turn on the light onto the second round, and you looked through a window and you saw me through the building.
Well, that stalkers do that.
I know.
I have perfect vision.
Anyway, so he finishes his turn, and that is the round.
We just keep going. You have 18 turns.
Well, we were talking about the end game. The beginning game, you're trying to gather evidence.
Once so you're you're trying to cycle through the board and turn on the building lights, trying to locate.
Yeah, and then once the evidence is uncovered, that's when you trigger your end game. And in this case, there's 3 different scenarios you can choose.
Which is a really cool idea. I like it a lot.
I like the fact that they gave you those options. It reminds me of the commercial where they get to decide if they want to go into the open car or
or the shed with
all the chainsaws, or run into the graveyard, and they choose to go hide in the chainsaws. Yeah,
that seems like a smart idea. Don't forget, you also get to collect item cards that let you do special things, which will help you on your journey. I had some very good stuff, actually.
And there's wounds, so if Randy hurts me, which he did, based off the attack, but his attack got me 2 wounds, did twice, I died.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. 2 wounds. But you only got 4 in the game.
But some of the wounds are face down. That's just a wound. If the wounds are face up, then it gives you extra bad stuff. Like it might limit me flashlight, movement, could do just about anything that's bad.
That piece of it was very reminiscent of Nemesis, where you have the different abilities and you can heal them and they get face down, and you don't have that negative ability, but you still have the wound. But you have to go to a special place to get rid of the wound entirely.
Yeah. So let's talk about scoring. Now, there is something that I did not like. So the biggest thing for me is, okay, you're doing this investigation, you're going through and traveling through, then the in-game triggers, then you're adding stuff to the board, which I didn't like, because you should be able to discover those things that they should already be in play, so you can make that determination of, hey, we're around these 3 things that we've already discovered, maybe let's go that route, versus, oh, we're picking a route and then we put the stuff on the board, because what's the point? Why even, I don't know. That was my biggest complaint, because I feel like if you're investigating, you should find stuff. Maybe stuff that isn't useful, maybe stuff that is locked down, because you don't know if a car part is useful, so you maybe wouldn't necessarily pick that up until that decision's kind of made. But I don't know, just to be able to discover it throughout the board. That's my only critique, really, and the fact that it did seem really, really hard with 2 players.
Yeah, I think this definitely will be easier with more players. With 2, the fact is you all basically had to split up. And if you have to split up, it makes it much easier for me to attack someone.
Yeah.
Because
you were on me like rice. Luckily, I had that ability, because if you had went to him, you would have built up so fast, because he didn't necessarily have that sweeping ability, and then you would have ended up with it wouldn't have lasted. You would have killed this way sooner.
Similar to, as we mentioned, Material House on the Hill, you have the haunt that comes up, and it does change the scenario. But in that one, I agree, there is an ability to at least potentially find some of the things along the way that you need as far as your goal.
Well, and you're building up your character. You can build up your stats and things like that. Like, you're modifying your success rate as you go through. And this, I don't feel like you're doing that. You're not really modifying your success rate. You just triggers. Now you're putting stuff on the board.
Well, you are getting cards that give you helpful boons along the way that could potentially help you. And there's, you did have one that was actually pertinent to a scenario, which I thought that was cool.
Yeah, but I mean, that was sheer luck of the draw.
Yeah.
But everything else, I mean, I did come up with 2 really good things, the 2-way radio and the secret passage. But I got that at the start of the game. That wasn't really me discovering it. Both of those, so that's why I'm kind of like, eh.
I understand your point, but I think at the same time, these type of games are meant to be hard. They're meant to be difficult. So I don't think that's so much as a criticism as just more of a challenge. Just trying to be able to get it done as quickly as possible. And then you would learn those scenarios too. It's like if I go into this against the stalker guy, I'm going to know that these are the 3 options I have to try and win this particular scenario. So I might try and develop my game to be.
But you can't because you don't know where the things are.
You can a little bit. I mean, just like knowing like this card will be really useful if I do the truck scenario, or this card would be really useful if I try and do the stabbed adversary.
Well, I mean, like this truck card literally says you cannot use any other truck card. So once you find one, it's not like you can add it.
Well, no, but I'm just saying that there's stuff that if I knew I had that, then I would say, all right, I'm going for the truck scenario.
Yeah, but there's nothing that you can do in the middle of the investigation to help that except maybe get closer together when you end it.
So you learn.
Yeah, but then you got to go get the stuff. So
I agree. It's hard. It's hard, and that's kind of why I like it, though. So
I mean, I don't mind that it's hard. I just wish there was. It seems a little very random luck based versus me trying to make sure that I play well, because like I felt like I played well being able to catch him multiple times. There was no, I mean, yeah, I kind of prevented him from building up, but he still was able to kill you in 3 rounds as soon as he went over to you. Like that's, I don't know. It just felt like a lot. And I didn't really see any benefit, even though I kept finding you. I felt like you should have gotten more than a penalty because, and I don't know. Maybe it was just me.
Well, I think it's a good challenging game. I think it's a good solid game. I'm going to give it an 8 overall.
I'm not. And I will with the caveat at 3 players. If you played this with 5...
It might be a completely different game.
It might be a lot better. It might not be nearly as challenging because you got multiple people. You could go in pairs. There's some stuff there that could probably work out a lot better. Like for me, I could probably do better by myself, or maybe if you would, if there was just 3 people, you guys having a partner system, that way you can make sure you're inspecting your area, then maybe that would work out better. I'm going to give it a 7. It was a very functional game. It worked. It was fun. The theme was really spot on. So I can't say that. So we triggered the end round at 11. No, 12.
No, it was 11.
It was 11. We were dead by 14.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just felt like it should have been more closer to the wire. So I'm at a 7.
Right. I'm kind of between you two. I think I'm a 7.5. I think it's a good game. I like the thematics of it. I like the way the mechanics feel. I don't like the tokens. I think they're a bit fidgety, and there's a lot of them. I'm hoping that they do something to upgrade them as far as the quality, but as far as just even then, you've still got a ton of them, and trying to find what is the right token. And it's the same problem Betrayal House on the Hill had in the first release. The one I got, they just released a token for everything, and it became a sorting issue.
You had a huge bag of tokens.
Yeah, so trying to figure out what specific token I needed for this scenario.
But at least they color-coded them, so that was helpful.
And it helped that they matched. It didn't help that the prototype we received had been used in the past. So, some of the stuff was bundled incorrectly, and I had to sort out what was what with rules that were not finished. So it didn't have pictures to show what was what in many cases. So it was difficult to figure out exactly what components we needed. I think all that will be worked out in the rulebook once it's finalized, but we don't have evidence to show that. So it was a little wonky at front. So I'm going to give this a 7.5. It could go up once the final product comes out. And I think it's definitely going to be better with more players. I think us being a 3-player with just 2 of you, and the fact that you only had to find 1 evidence, it took away some of the story of the game to me. If you already had 4 of the evidence, we kind of came into the story halfway through the game, the tale.
But it'd have been impossible.
It would have been impossible to play in 17 rounds without doing that. I understand why they did it. It just feels like you're already jumping into the middle of the movie.
Yeah, I get that.
So, I think a 7.5 is a fair score.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast tonight, and hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.